Year 2 and welcome back to your online home learning. I'm here to join you this morning for some more maths learning, so I'll share my screen and we'll get going. Okay, here we are. So just to warm up our brains this morning then, we're going to look at these bar models here to help us to solve some division number sentences. So I'd like you to use the 3 bar models to help you to solve these 3 division number sentences. Okay, so we have 2 divided by 2, 14 divided by 2, and 6 divided by 2. So using that knowledge from last lesson to help you to either share or to group those amounts into 2 groups or into groups of 2, using the bar model to try and find the answers to each of those division number sentences. Okay, hopefully you've had some time then to have a go at solving those 3 number sentences there. I'm going to share the answers with you. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now, as you can see in my bar models, I've shared my whole into 2 groups. I've shared it equally. So I've shared 2 into my 2 groups, and I can see there's 1 in each group. And 14, again, I've shared into my 2 groups. I've got 7 in each group, and 6, I've done the same, and the answer would be 3 there. Well done if they were the answers that you found as well. Okay, year 2. So today in your maths learning, you're going to be looking at revisiting your odd and even numbers. Now, odd and even numbers is learning that you've already done before. Okay, so you should all know what odd and even numbers are. Okay, but we're just going to go over that again, just for a little bit more practice. Okay, so I want you to have a think then. What do you know about odd and even numbers? What makes a number odd? What makes a number even? So how do we know which numbers are odd? How do we know which numbers are even? You may even want to have a go at listing some numbers that you know are odd and some numbers you know are even. I'll give you some time to think about that and we'll share in a moment. Okay, so let's share together then. So, looking at odd and even numbers, starting with even numbers. Now, an even number is a number that can be divided into 2 equal groups. So, for example, the number 4, if I wanted to share 4 into 2 groups, my groups would be equal. Okay, so it's a number that can be halved. Now, even numbers end in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0, regardless of how many digits they have. So even if it was a 3-digit number, even if it was 268, I would know that's an even number because it ends in the digit 8. Now, looking at those numbers there, we've looked at those numbers before, and those numbers relate to one of our times tables. I wonder if you can remember which times table those numbers relate to. They link to the 2 times table because all of the multiples of 2 end in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. So that's our even numbers then. Now, an odd number is a number that cannot be divided into 2 equal groups. So if I was to try and halve or to share an odd number into 2 groups, my groups would not be equal. So for example, the number 3, if I wanted to share into 2 equal groups, one group might have 2, one group would only have 1, so they wouldn't be equal. So odd numbers end in the digits 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. Again, regardless of how many digits the number has. Okay, so that's our basic knowledge of odd and even numbers. So let's get on with our first question then. So we've got some numbers here you can see in the green bubble. I'd like you to have a go at representing each of these numbers one by one using concrete resources. So again, using any objects that you have at home, do one number at a time. So for example, you may want to find 6 marbles or 6 counters. I want you to share each amount into 2 equal groups. Now, if your groups are equal, then you're going to know that your number is even. If your groups are not equal, well, then you know that the number is odd. Okay, so how does this help you decide whether a number is odd or even? So have a good think about that as you collect all of those amounts and then share them into two equal groups. After you've shared each amount, after you've shared each number, I'd like you to write the number into this odd and even table. So you can draw your own odd and even table just with a line down the middle and a line going across. One side odd, one side even. Just write those numbers in, whether it's an odd number or whether it's an even number. Have a go at going through each of these numbers, making them and sharing them into those two groups. And once you've had a go at that, come back together and we'll go through the answers together. Okay, hopefully you've had some time now to look through each of those numbers and to decide whether they are odd or whether they are even. Okay, so hopefully you've got the same as I have. So I've got in the odd column 3, 9, 15 and 17. And then in the even column, I've got 2, 6, 14, 18 and 20. Now I wonder if you can spot any patterns there. Do you notice any patterns? Okay, and finally for that Challenge X, another little activity for you to have a go at. I wonder if you can find all of the odd and even numbers on 100 square. Okay, so you can see my 100 square here. So you can either use my one on the screen or you can find your own on the computer or print one off. Try and find all of the odd and even numbers on 100 square. And are there any patterns that you notice? Okay, so go through that. Maybe you want to circle all of the odd numbers in blue, all of the even numbers in green, okay, to see what pattern you can notice. Okay, moving on to our next question then. We have got some Numicon pieces here, each of them separate. Okay, so looking at each one separately. Which of these number pieces are odd and how do you know? So have a look at the value of each of these Numicon pieces. I want you to think about which of these number pieces are odd and how do you know? Okay, so let's have a look together then. So the odd number pieces would be 5, the green 5 and the yellow 3. Okay, and we can clearly see if we were to try and draw a line down the middle to split those in half, then my two groups would not be equal. I'd have 2 here and 3 here. And again here, if I was to draw a line down the middle to try and share them, I'd have 2 here and only 1 on the other side. Okay, well, it's a bit of a challenge then. I wonder if you can find or draw your own odd and even Numicon pieces. You may want to add those to your odd and even table or draw your own odd and even table to draw some Numicon pieces that are odd and some Numicon pieces that are even. Again, see if you can notice a pattern at all. Okay, moving on then. So finally, for your practice then, you've got a table here which is showing us some different representations. Some representations is the number written in words, some is the number written in numbers, some is base 10, Numicon, money, all sorts. Okay, so I want you to go through and look at each representation separately. I wonder if you can spot any mistakes. Are there any representations that are on the wrong side of the table? If they are, you may just want to point them out, and I want you to think about why is that a mistake? Okay, where should that be? And what makes these representations odd? What makes them even? Okay, and once you've spotted the mistakes you can see there, I'd like you to create your own odd and even table using some different representations, just like this one. So you may want to draw a 10 frame to show an odd number. You may want to draw, like we've done here, some base 10. Or you may want to draw a bead string. Okay, whatever you'd like to represent those numbers, but have a go drawing your own table with 3 representations for odd and 3 representations for even. I'd really love to see those. So if you draw that out on the paper, it'd be really great if you could send us in a photograph of those. Okay, so let's share the answers then to see if you were able to spot those mistakes there. Okay, so the mistakes in this table was the 50p. Remember, even numbers end in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0. Remember, 50 ends in a 0. That needs to be in the even column. Now, also the number 6 is an even number, so that should be over on the even side. And then the last mistake was this number here, 25. Because remember, odd numbers end in 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And this number ends in 5. Well done if you were able to spot those mistakes in the table too. Okay, and as we remember our pattern here, odd numbers end in 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And even numbers end in 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Okay. So finally, for your challenge then, a bit of fun. I'd like you to draw this table out on your paper. And if you have dice available, then that would be great, because you'll need dice for this activity. Now, if you don't have dice, then don't worry. You can just choose your own numbers to add to your table. So if you do have dice, then you need to find 2 dice. You need to draw the table out on your paper. Then you need to roll 2 dice and write down the numbers on each of those dice. So for example, our question here. So dice 1 rolled a 3. So 3 could be dice 1. We know 3 is an odd number. Dice 2 showed the number 2, which is an even number. Once you've rolled both your dice and you've written down the number they show, you need to add those 2 numbers together. So for example, 3 add 2 equals 5. And then I want you to work out whether the total is an odd number or an even number. And you'll just write there odd or even. Okay, so we're going to roll 2 dice, write down next to dice 1, the number that's showing, next to dice 2, the other number that's showing, add them together, and then we decide whether the total is odd or whether it is even. Now you could also try and make your own dice if you don't have dice at home, okay? But if not, then you can just come up with your own numbers to add there. They don't have to be 1-digit numbers, you could come up with 2-digit numbers if you want to. Okay, so once the table is completed, so I'd like you to do that sort of 5 or 6 times, rolling the dice to find different numbers. I want you to see again if there are any patterns you can spot. And I want you to write down the patterns you see. Now, are all of the totals that you found odd? Some of them odd, were some of them even? What did you notice about the totals that were odd, the totals that were even? Was it always an odd plus an even equals an odd? Or could it be sometimes an odd plus an odd equals an odd? Okay, so look at the pattern there. What makes an odd total? What makes an even total? I'd love to see those patterns that you've noticed, writing them down there. Okay, so that's your challenge. Hopefully you'll have a bit of fun having a go at that. So finally then, for your challenge X, if you'd like to stretch yourself that bit more. Tommy says that when he adds 2 odd numbers together, his total will be even. Is he correct? Convince me. So for example, here we can see a 5 numicon piece and a 7 numicon piece. Okay, does that make an odd number or does that make an even number? You may want to try and have a go at adding some other odd numbers together and see if his total is always even, or whether it's never even. Okay, so I want you to write down what you notice about that. You might want to write down some more addition number sentences just to make sure you are definitely correct. Okay, so make sure you have a go at this challenge X before you come back together with me so we can share the answers to this. Okay, so Tommy is correct because two odd numbers will always make an even total. Okay, and you can use any resources to show this or any pictures as well to show this. Okay, so finally then for your fluency number sentence, you've got a division number sentence today, 30 divided by 3. So again, you can choose whether you want to use the strategy of grouping into groups of 3, or whether you want to share into 3 groups. You can use objects, you can draw a picture to help you to find the answer to this. Okay, so let's come back together then. So 30 divided by 3 equals 10. Okay, so well done if that was the answer that you found as well. Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning for some more Maths Learning Year 2. I hope you continue to have a really wonderful day today, and I'll see you a little bit later on. Goodbye for now.